For years, Mexico fought to avoid becoming a desert, facing the most severe drought in decades. In 2021, NASA reported that almost 85% of Mexican territory faced intense drought conditions. A large part of the biggest dams in the north and center of the country were below 25% of their capacity, which is considered critical. It's no wonder the situation was considered by authorities to be the worst drought in 30 years. Even in the capital, Mexico City, which has a reputation for daily rain, key reservoirs showed exceptionally low levels. Since then, the drought not only persisted but worsened. Starting in the summer of 2023, it began to intensify and expand significantly, affecting states in the northwest and center of the country. Entities like Sonora, Chihuahua, Sinaloa, Durango, and several central ones like San Luis Potosi, Guanajuato, Querétaro, or Hidalgo experienced droughts classified as extreme or exceptional. Many rivers and waterfalls dried up completely, and thousands of native animals died. In summary, by late 2023 and early 2024, practically the entire republic had no water. A Conagua report from May 2024 indicated that 30 out of 32 states faced some degree of drought. Since the crisis began, federal and state authorities implemented mitigation plans and actions. At the national level, the National Program Against Drought, PRONACOS, was launched, and more recently, the National Water Plan, with dozens of infrastructure projects including dams, aqueducts, desalting plants, irrigation modernization, and river sanitation scheduled from 2025 to 2030. For example, the priority construction of 17 waterworks was announced, including dams in Sonora, Durango, and Zacatecas, as well as aqueducts in Mexico City, with an investment of over 122,000 million pesos. Additionally, policies for ordering concessions have been promoted to avoid overexploitation and water use efficiency programs, such as technified irrigation in agriculture. At the state and local level, there were also concrete actions. In the countryside, aid such as seasonal seeds and agricultural tools were distributed to improve water retention in dry soils. In several states, cleanup and desilting campaigns were carried out on borders, watering holes, and small dams to optimize rainfall capture. These actions were done so that rainwater would be stored locally instead of running off for agricultural and livestock use. In the words of local authorities, the more water the borders and dams have, the producers will have their agricultural cycle guaranteed. In addition, livestock can consume it, thus reducing the use of well water. These measures allowed partially cushioning the effects of the drought, which were devastating for the vast majority of Mexicans. In June and July 2025, Mexico received unusual precipitation for this time. According to Conagua, between May 31st and June 29th, an average of more than 148 millimeters of rain was recorded, 51.3% above the historical average for that period. June 2025 turned out to be the rainiest in Mexico City. These torrential rains helped replenish the country's dams, at least temporarily. In Aguascalientes, the result was notable. 4 state dams virtually reached 100% of their capacity. Conagua data at the end of June indicated that reservoirs were around 98%. This record filling is attributed to the good June season and the desilting program implemented months ago. However, the situation at the national level still shows a mixed picture. In general, at the end of June, storage levels in dams monitored by Conagua were still approximately 5% lower than the historical average for that date. That is, although water was replenished, on average the country is still lagging behind the historical normal. Not all regions received equal rainfall, for example. The north and northwest, like Sonora, Chihuahua, Sinaloa, or Durango, they have only had moderate rains, and severe drought persists in many municipalities. By key regions, it should be noted that in the Cutzamala system of the Mexico City metropolitan area, reservoirs rose from 26.7% to 52.1% of capacity in 1 year. This is a substantial improvement, but it is still only at half its potential. Even so, 97 of the 210 national dams are still below 50% full. These dams represent 42% of the total volume of the water system. The recovery is very uneven. While regions of the Bajío and center report full dams and in the south there are overflows due to excess water, other northern states still face a critical water shortage. As of early July 2025, Conagua's drought monitor indicated that 36.2% of the country remained under drought or dryness conditions, and 11.7% was still at official drought levels. Baja California, Coahuila, Chihuahua, and Sonora are the only ones where the 5 levels of drought persist, from moderate to exceptional. In Sonora, high levels are concentrated, as more than 90% of its territory suffers from some type of drought, which makes it the most affected state in the country. In Chihuahua, despite the rains, 4.9% of the territory is still reported an exceptional drought, while Coahuila maintains 1.5% in that same category. In summary, the rains have given an important respite in agricultural areas and some reservoirs, but the national drought is not yet considered overcome. However, if the rains persist, Mexico will be well on its way to winning the battle. However, Conagua stresses that the panorama can change soon. Although the summer monsoon brings rains in July and August, forecasts indicate that in many areas the accumulations could be only normal or even below the historical average. In fact, on June 30th, Conagua warned that the national deficit, although reduced, has not disappeared. The next season from July to September is not expected to bring extra rain to already affected areas, except for some areas of the Northwest where it could rain slightly more than normal. If fewer rains than expected arrive, the newly captured water could decrease rapidly. Therefore, authorities insist on water conservation. This respite does not mean that scarcity has ended. Urban-saving policies, such as leak repair or rainwater recalina and agricultural water with efficient irrigation and appropriate crops, remain urgent. The National Water Plan itself seeks to order concessions and conserve aquifers so that accumulated water is not lost due to mismanagement. In conclusion, recent rains have notably alleviated the drought in some areas of the country with up to 21 years of record rain. But Mexico has not completely emerged from the water crisis. The basins still have medium-low storage, and it remains to be seen how rainfall evolves in the rest of the summer. The most prudent thing is to consider this moment as an almost miraculous temporary relief. Water recovery will depend on maintaining conservation measures and continued sufficient rainfall. In other words, having water today does not guarantee that tomorrow levels will not drop again. It will be key to take advantage of this opportunity to strengthen infrastructure and water use habits throughout the country. But what do you think about it? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to like and subscribe.